Welcome to Eggs and Issues, a monthly business forum presented by the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce, bringing timely economic discussion to the region for nearly 40 years. Thank you to our sponsors and partners. Presenting sponsors, Martins Point Healthcare, Bernstein Scher, and Central Maine Power. Cooperating sponsors, Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Bank of America. Reception sponsors, Clark Insurance, Key Bank, and Pretty Flaherty. Community Corner sponsor, Goral Palmer. Tomorrow's leaders and entrepreneurs sponsors, AAA Northern New England and ProSearch. Coffee sponsor, Skowhegan Savings. Parking sponsor, M People Credit Union. Photography sponsor, Wohler & Company. Media partners, radio sponsor, WGAN. Print sponsor, Maine Trust for Local News. TV sponsor, WMTW Maine CW. Business news sponsor, Maine Biz. Venue partner, University of Southern Maine. And thank you to our special community partners, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, Kennebec Savings Bank, MEMIC, Spectrum Healthcare Partners, Southern Maine Community College, and the University of Southern Maine. And now, please welcome Portland Community Chamber President, Mary Costigan.
Good morning. It's great to see a good crowd on this beautiful summer morning. Welcome to the final Eggs and Issues of the 24-25 Chamber Events season. My name is Mary Costigan. I'm a shareholder at Bernstein Scher, and I'm honored to serve as the volunteer president of the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. This is my last meeting as president of the chamber. I'm going to be handing the reins over to Rob Atkinson, and you'll be in good hands next season. I did chide Quincy this morning for not having mimosas to celebrate my last meeting, but whatever. Today, we are looking forward to inviting the M&R development team, Dan Bacon, Rocco Rosbera, and Peter Michaud to the stage for an insightful discussion on how Maine's largest redevelopment project is successfully increasing housing supply through cross-sector collaboration, creative planning, and community-focused development. Before I invite our speakers to the stage, I want to thank all of our sponsors of Eggs and Issues who make this event possible for the entire season. Without our sponsors' support of Eggs and Issues, the Chamber would not deliver the high-quality speakers, panels, and presentations you've come to expect, so thank you all. I'd like to extend a very sincere thank you to special community partners. These businesses and organizations support not just Eggs and Issues, but all of the 70-plus events that the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce produces throughout the year. Now on to our Community Corner. At each Eggs and Issues, we highlight a local nonprofit that is making a positive impact in the community. Today's Community Corner is the Portland Conservatory of Music. Portland Conservatory of Music has been a vital part of Maine's arts ecosystem for over 25 years. Known for its exceptional faculty and diverse programming, PCM provides individualized music education to students of all ages, from beginners to advanced musicians. Many of PCM's faculty members are active performers, composers, and recording artists, bringing a wealth of real-world experience to teaching. Beyond private lessons, PCM offers a wide array of ensemble opportunities, workshops, and master classes that connect students with peers and with the broader musical community. These experiences help students develop critical skills of collaboration, musical interpretation, and stage presence. PCM also provides students with valuable performance opportunities, from informal recitals to high-profile concerts, helping them gain confidence and stage experience. With a special focus on music education accessible to all, PCM provides need-based tuition assistance, ensuring that talent and passion, not financial resources, determine a student's opportunity to learn. This commitment to equity and inclusivity has made PCM a vital resource for aspiring musicians across the region. As PCM looks to the future, it remains dedicated to nurturing the next generation of artists, empowering them to find their voices, and share their talents with the world. You can learn more at pcm.org. I believe we have PCM's Director of Marketing and Development, Melissa Lund-Ziegler, with us this morning. Can you please stand so they can find you later if they want to learn more? There's Lisa back there. So if you have any questions, you can find Lisa. There's a table out in the lobby you may have seen earlier today. So thank you so much. Our Tomorrow's Leaders and Entrepreneurs program allows area high school, technical school, university, and college students to attend Eggs and Issues events at no cost. If there are any students here today, I'd be really impressed. But if you are here, please stand and be recognized. Okay, they're all enjoying the last day of school. It's too nice to be here. Okay, just a quick reminder that we do have complimentary parking in the garage, so there was a Q&R code. It's on the screen. It was when you walked in. If you have any questions, you can just ask some chamber folks. If you haven't done that yet, be sure to do it before you leave. Okay, now on to today's program. The challenge we face is clear. Maine needs to add 80,000 new housing units by 2030 to keep pace with demand and support a thriving economy. While that goal is ambitious, it is also achievable if we work together. We're already feeling the pressure in many communities. Businesses are finding it harder to hire because housing options are limited. Major employers are struggling to attract and retain the talent they need. Essential roles like teachers, first responders, and childcare providers are increasingly difficult to fill. And even thoughtfully designed housing proposals often face opposition, driven by concerns about change and the desire to preserve what makes Maine unique. But let's be clear, this crisis affects everyone. Even those who are securely housed today are already feeling the strain on their communities, local services, and the economy. Solving this will take collaboration at every level, local, regional, and state. And it must be done in a way that strengthens our communities without compromising the unique character and values that make Maine such a special place to live. Fortunately, we're not starting from scratch. There are innovative and forward-thinking housing efforts underway across the state. One project in particular has been recognized as a model for what is possible when vision, collaboration, and persistence come together, and that project is the Downs in Scarborough. In the face of a global pandemic, economic uncertainty, and market volatility, the Downs has delivered 622 homes of all types and price points, over 50 businesses creating more than 1,000 jobs, Costco, IDEX, Market Basket, and Allagash, and Maine's first ever new construction town center, fulfilling a vision Scarborough has held since 2006. Today, the M&R development team is here to share some lessons learned on the challenges and opportunities before the state of Maine, on how to successfully work together to bring on housing without changing the character of our communities. It is my pleasure to introduce Dan Bacon, Rocco Risbera, and Peter Michaud.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. I think I'll use that. Good morning and thanks for having us. I want to begin this morning with a quick funny story on me. I've got my cheat sheet in front of me that I received last night, and I realized I couldn't really read it without my glasses. So I get on my computer, and I created some nice big font. But it was interesting to admit my ignorance. I wasn't sure how to bump the font on Word. So I went into my chat GBT, check this out, right? Which I had never used before, but I had it just to be cool. And I was shown how to do this font growth, I guess you would call it, make it bigger. On my phone. So at the Downs, the point here is at the Downs, we're already using AI. We're there. We're the ones. On more of a serious note, I really want to take a minute. By the way, I still need these, even though that's that large. On a serious note, I do want to take a minute and recognize some of our team members. In the room here today is Bill Risbera. If you really want to get his attention, you call him William John. Dickie Mishu, he goes by Richard or Dickie. He's my brother, so I always call him Dickie. Jake Michaud, Ashley Risbera, Diana Nelson, Drew Campbell, our CFO, Selena Daniel, Abby Peters, Tom Perkins, Emily Taylor, as well as many members from Maine Properties and Risbera Brothers. I have to tell you, we have some serious horsepower when it comes to people. And we believe in three things in business: people, process, and technology. And you'll see the strength of our people today, but you do win with people. And Mary mentioned earlier, she didn't use quite this word, but the tenacity that it took to get through COVID with a project like this. And hats off to our team. Thank you very much. Let's see here. I'm going to learn how to run this. We might be clunky for a minute. We are clunky for a minute. Hang on. Here we go. I get the wrong one. There I go. I need AI. See that? From an agenda point of view, we're going to cover off kind of how we found success at the Downs. We're going to talk about what we believe is the solve to the Maine housing crisis, kind of where the opportunities and barriers are. And we're going to talk about lessons learned, likely the most important part. So kind of why the Downs? First of all, we have a passion for Scarborough. We love Maine. We love the town of Scarborough. I've been a resident there for over 52 years. I did live somewhere else before, just for the record. Guys, a tough crowd this morning here. We did want to make a meaningful contribution to the regional economy, not just Scarborough. Obviously, the Downs at its size and scope has an impact, certainly in Cumberland and York County, without any question. It's a unique property. We acquired it in 2018. Interesting story. When we had the opportunity to acquire this land, we called the Downs, was obviously an operating harness racing track. And when we did our research, by the way, we did it in 45 days, which was unheard of, we realized that the project had been under contract 17 times in 15 years. Of that 17 times, only 2 of them were developers. The rest were all for a casino. Which went to referendum and so on, and the town voted it down and so on. But people kept trying. They kept trying. And also why the Downs? The town had a vision, which leads us to establishing the primary ingredients to what we call smart growth. You're going to hear a little bit about smart growth today. Comprehensive plan is part of that ingredient. Mary mentioned earlier that the town created a comprehensive plan back in 2006. And that plan did the following things. It provided for designated growth areas, flexible mixed use, zoning. And really what that means is flexible mixed use zoning is, we have a housing crisis, obviously, but we also, we have to build businesses by these houses. We have to offer new platforms. And we're doing that through our mixed-use facilities. But the bottom line is, AKA, better said, it's density. The town of Scarborough created a zone to allow for density. So they said, we know we're going to grow, but we want it in this area so we can control it. That was part of the smart growth. Of course, you need to have a public and private partnership. And then you got to go out and find a developer that's reputable. Not always an easy thing to do. But those are the ingredients and why we acquired the Downs and why the Downs make sense. I'm going to flip it over to Dan here, and he's going to talk about the second points on the agenda. Thanks.
Thanks, Peter. And I'm honored to be here this evening. Sorry. I got up a lot earlier than normal this morning, so already feels like evening for me. So again, thanks for the opportunity to be here. In addition to the folks on our internal team, I did want to recognize the consultant teams. I think there's a number in the audience that we've been working hand in hand over the past 7 to 8 years on this project. Laura Palmer's here, Flycatcher, John Rizzo, probably Drew Sigfridson might be here. So in addition to a great construction team and internal team, it takes a village on the consultant side to frankly design one and build one. So thank you. And Peter outlined some, at a high level, some of the key ingredients for success here at the Downs. I have a really unique kind of position with this project that many of you might know about, but not everybody. Prior to working for the private sector, I was actually the planning director in the town of Scarborough. So the 2006 comprehensive plan I was involved in, and even more importantly, working with the town council, local committees at the time. In 2013, we established the zoning that's in place here at the Downs. And as Peter indicated, it's a mixed-use zone. It has a lot of flexibility. It has density. It enabled us as a development team to respond to the housing crisis, respond to market demand in terms of housing, in terms of commercial development, as well as to kick off our initiative to implement the town's goal for a town center. So zoning, and Rocky will get into more details, is so foundational, and having flexible zoning and keeping zoning in place and not moving the goalposts are fundamental to the success of this project, and I think a great model for the rest of the region and the state. So to give you a sense of kind of what we accomplished, I'm actually going to start with commercial. And Peter mentioned it, as well as Mary. We've been busy around commercial, not just housing. So the Downs is just as much as an economic driver for the region and a commercial hub as it is a place with a variety of housing types. So over the course of the last few years, we've been focused on light industrial in particular. There was a huge need for light industrial space in Greater Portland. And we saw that, we capitalized on that with a great location, with the proper zoning in place, and we set it up in a way that was pre-permitted and shovel-ready. So the secret sauce for us was to make it easy for customers and to make it easy for businesses who are in the business of running their business. They're not in the development business. So it wasn't necessarily easy for us to kind of get the framework in place. But once we did, we pre-permitted a huge area, 150 acres, and we put all the infrastructure in, and we made it very straightforward for end users to come in and either buy a lot or work with us on a turnkey building solution. And so what resulted is over 50 businesses that landed in the Downs, largely in the Innovation District. It sold out in 2 years. The forecasts were 10, and we have in excess of 1,000 folks working at the Downs, and it's really kind of taken off. As Peter mentioned and Mary mentioned, Costco is part of that kind of catalyst for us, and it's also enables us to kind of launch into the town center. With Costco on site, it's a massive draw. It establishes the Downs as a retail center for Greater Portland, and it's enabled us to pursue others and to launch the town center. And now for kind of the town center. So Scarborough, as you all are likely aware, doesn't really have a downtown, doesn't really have a town center. It's a great community, but it's really a community of villages and neighborhood centers that over the years have just been kind of growing together. So there isn't this central hub. There isn't this town center where everybody goes, say, on a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon. And this has been a vision of the town for decades, frankly, at this point, to have that true and modern town center. So per the comprehensive plan, per the town zoning, we got started with light industrial, we got started with residential to build some momentum, all with the goal of building our way into a town center. We wanted people living on site, providing kind of the right environment for a lot of housing types, and then to put in the infrastructure to activate the town center. So, and this town center gives us an opportunity to design and build a town center, which virtually no one has that opportunity. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the modern times. So this isn't a retail center. It's going to have retail. It isn't just housing. It's going to have housing. It's going to be mixed use and be a modern town center. So that means it'll have medical. So Intermed's going to anchor our town center with a 60,000 square foot medical office that'll have surgery, imaging, quick care, as well as office. Market Basket was mentioned. Market Basket just got approved a few weeks ago, and we're already proceeding with construction. So that'll be a huge anchor for us and draw from the grocery side. And then we're in conversations with 50 to 60 different smaller retailers, restaurants, breweries, but also health and wellness. That's a modern town center where it's about fitness, health, wellness. And we're also in conversations with sports. And so that it's really a livable place where you can do all the things, not just go shopping or not just living. And as you see here in the design, we laid it out in such that it does have some historical elements in that there's a green. So the green is the central hub of the town center. We're working on the design right now. There would be a green space. There would be opportunities for events, say on a Friday evening or a Saturday evening. There's a shared street design, which can expand the green space for larger events and another activation. And it all would be surrounded with restaurants, breweries, and retail activity. In terms of more specifics, I mentioned a Market Basket approval. We're really in the phase where things are starting to really come together from a construction standpoint. So if you drive out there today, you'll see a lot of earthwork, a lot of activity. We've already put infrastructure in the ground that will serve the town center. The water, the sewer, a pump station is well underway. And we're working on the site work to go vertical later this year. So from a timing standpoint, Market Basket, Intermed, as well as our first kind of true mixed-use building that's indicative of a historical downtown, all along with some additional retail, all will be going vertical later this fall with the goal of opening the grocery store, medical office, and initial wave of retail in the fall of 2026. So we're super excited. It's been 20 years of planning at the town level and essentially 8 within our team to finally kind of be getting to this point to activate this part of the project. So the initial kind of statistics around the town center will be 200,000 feet of commercial space and 76 units right in the 4 buildings that will define that first phase of town center. And these are some of the high-level goals for the town center. In terms of business attraction, we're not focused only on national retailers. We're not focused only on local businesses. It's going to be a wide mix. To be successful, to be a draw, to serve the customer base that we need, it's going to be an awesome mix of national, regional, local end users. And we're in intense conversations with many of them. And it's designed for an active lifestyle, kind of like I was saying earlier. It's going to have sidewalks, paths, the green space, and we have 200 acres of open space kind of surrounding town center. So we have density, as Peter was describing, but I also have open space and conservation to achieve that lifestyle and the conservation focus we have for the environmentally sensitive parts of the project. It's also at a density that's transit ready. So Scarborough's not known for transit. I think there's a bus that runs through, every 3 to 4 hours. And we are on that bus line now, but with this type of density, with the mix of housing and employment, we can drive transit and really be a destination and enable the town to transform into more of a multimodal community. Back to residential, kind of which was really the foundation of the project and the core topic today. That's how we started the project. Housing is the foundation of our project. It's essentially the foundation of communities, right? So you don't have community unless you have housing. That's how we got started. And Rocky's team, in particular, Risbera, had a great history in understanding housing development, all unit types, all products. That's how we wanted to get started. Build some momentum, get a bunch of people living on site in a great design, a great layout, with a mix of housing types. So we didn't just go ahead and build a bunch of single-family homes or a bunch of apartments. We did it in a way that is actually remarkable from a housing mix standpoint. There's everything from tiny homes all the way up to affordable senior housing, townhouses, single-family homes on alleys, single-family homes that are street-loaded, townhouses. I think we got to have a dozen different housing product types just in the first few phases of the Downs. And we've done it in a way that's not also, housing, single family over here, apartments over there. We've done it in an integrated fashion so that all demographics, price points, and residents are kind of living together in the same pattern. And we've done it with neighborhood parks, trails, and a great kind of interconnected community design. So from a statistics standpoint, we've already built 622 units. With the town center projects underway that include housing, we're going to be headed towards 900 to 1,000 just in town, what we've done so far, plus town center, with the goal of, at the end of the day, 2,000 different types of housing units on site. So we're trying to do our part to kind of meet the challenge and deliver on the housing crisis. We have in excess of 1,000 residents in that housing today that are living within the project. And it shows here, 15% single family. So we look at the market need, we look at the zoning, and we've really worked hard to provide housing for workforce housing, for all incomes and all market demand. So this, just to kind of give you a sense of the overall project, it's 577 acres. The residential we've done and started and focused on early on is on the Route 1 side. So on the screen, it's on the right side. We came in with a handful of phases off of Route 1. And then on the left side of the screen is the Innovation District. Obviously, you can see Costco, IDEX. I'm sure most everybody in the room have been to Costco. But if you haven't been past Costco and driven through the Innovation District, you really should, because it's a cool, modern, light industrial district. I think you'd be impressed, and you'll see all the progress that was made. We did that intentionally. Residential on one side, light industrial on the other, and build toward the center. And then the core of the project, right in the middle there, is Town Center. And you can see Market Basket, Intermed, and all the other development that we're planning that is in sort of a traditional kind of urban layout. I think with that, I was going to wrap up and turn over to Rocky. I did want to mention one other key end user that we have. I know Rob Todd's here in the audience, and his team. So Allagash got really excited a couple years ago about the project, wanted an independent tasting room in addition to the great brewing establishment in Portland. So they're actually at the tail end of fitting out space in our first kind of true mixed-use building right on the edge of Town Center. It'll be the Allagash Bungalow, I think is the new term, or the branding for the new space. And I think in July, we'd love to have everybody in the audience, once they open up, come on over and check out their new tasting room at the bungalow. We're thrilled to have them as a partner in a key new business in the Downs, and really kind of it's the beginning of establishing momentum for the town center. So thank you, Rob, for your teamwork, and I think I'll turn to you, Rocky.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, folks, for being here. Just want to recognize Dan, if I could. Dan really is a mastermind of this project, and he's put a lot of time and effort over the years in this, and very, very proud of what he's been able to accomplish with this team that we've put together. And as Peter mentioned, we've got a really incredible, talented team. So looking at the economics of the Downs, oh, that's your slide. You went too far.
We were just talking.
I forgot. It's Peter's
got
turn.
it.
He wanted to thank Dan for all he's doing now with the economic side.
Oh. We are out of order?
Oddly enough,
That was well choreographed.
as much as we tried, this was going to happen, just so you guys
Yeah.
know. It's hard when you're switching speakers,
Dress
but
us up.
everybody has different depths. Just quickly here on this economic slide. The Downs, with its smart growth plan, is creating income for towns. This is kind of the what's in this for the municipalities and towns that participate in smart growth. So just to give you some math here, currently in the town of Scarborough, if there's any municipal people here or town-based people, we purchased the land in 2018 for around $7.2 million. The Downs was paying the town $100,000 a year in tax. After we started deploying some of the plans you saw from Dan, in 2024, we've built $359 million worth of taxable revenue already at the Downs. And that generates $3.8 million. So that's a $3.7 million improvement to the town of Scarborough already. By 2038, kind of fully loaded, the Downs taxable value should be somewhere in a $1.5 billion, and that's with a B, in value, in taxable value, and it would represent $16 million annually to their tax roll. That would represent it should end up representing, better said, about 17% of the town of Scarborough's tax roll. Keep in mind that the revenue at the town is sheltered by creating a TIF district. What the TIF district does, it allows the town to shelter some of these tax dollars from the state. So it has positive impacts on school allocations and things like that. There's a variety of things people much smarter than I know about. I just know that's a thing and we need to pay attention to it. But anyhow, so what that means is when I say sheltering, these dollars that are being generated, incremental tax dollars, are not equal to a normal tax dollar. That's what's key here. 30 to 40 cents on the dollar can be sheltered from the state, inbound from the Downs in this case, or anything that's inside the TIF district. And the town can invest that in specific qualified different things. For example, the town of Scarborough is paying off their bond for the public safety building, which was 20-something million, I believe it was around 20 million. They're paying that bond off with this sheltered money. So when you think about smart growth, TIF designs, things like that, this can be done. TIF districts typically are looked down upon, but it's actually a great tool, as I've mentioned, for municipalities to gain revenue. The design of this is really, really important. The design of this was part of the comp plan, part of the zoning and such, but I give all the credit, seriously, to Tom Hall, the town manager up at Scarborough, and Dan Bacon. At the time, he was the planner. And sometimes the old saying, if you can't beat them, you join them. In this case, if you can't beat them, you need to hire them. So here we are. A rose between two thorns up here, by the way. I'm going to flip it over to Rocky, and he's going to talk about solving the Maine housing crisis. Here we go. Yikes. You want me to do this, buddy?
I'll figure it out.
Okay, it's this green arrow right there. AI told me that.
Got it. Okay. Opportunities. I think everybody in this room, I assume everybody in this room, wants Maine's economy and population to thrive. If that's the case, we should be able to solve this issue. Mainers like to work together. We can build strong relationships. We have with the Downs. We've got great partners. We've got great partnership with the town of Scarborough. So, things can be put together and made to happen. The state of Maine, there's a lot of development potential. There's available land. There's a lot of opportunity for smart growth. And when I say growth, it doesn't have to be sprawl. It can be well thought out, but towns have to be on board and get their comp plans in line. We have growing industries in Maine. There's all kinds of reasons to live in Maine. If you can figure out how to make a living, this is the best place in the world to raise a family. And, you know, the life sciences, agriculture, tourism, those are all good paying jobs that can work here in Maine. So there's a lot of opportunities. We have a lot of barriers. You know, facing this housing crisis, it's a large task. But you know, the state of Maine has faced large tasks before, and we can figure it out. I think the state certainly can put policies in place. They're going to have to be working with local governments. So local governments are going to have policies in place to solve this problem. And let's face it, we got to deal with the NIMBYs. Maine is an interesting place to do business. Mainers don't sometimes like to have, they're sometimes not welcoming to have other development in their towns, and they don't want to see things change. But NIMBYs have valid points. I know NIMBYs is kind of a bad word, but I've stood in front of planning boards since I was 19 years old, and time again, I've seen people come and try to stop a project without valid reasons. You know, valid reasons might be, you know, I've got a drainage problem, or I've got sewer pumping problems, or we got traffic problems. But you know, not in my backyard. That's not a valid reason, and so we need to deal with that. As I said, we have lots of land available in Maine, but we have very little infrastructure, and that was something we faced with the Downs. We had a great site, we had super access. But we had no infrastructure within the Downs, and for a full build-out, it didn't take us long when working with the Goral Palmer team to realize that we've got to put a lot of infrastructure in the ground, large pipe, roadway systems that can handle the traffic, and it was a big undertaking. The solutions to that, the municipalities have to buy in, and Scarborough did step up and help us with a credit enhancement agreement. And other towns do need to look at that tool as part of a solution. The public-private, team working together, that was very important with the Downs. It's important in all towns that want to solve this problem. We need to have vocal support for smart projects, and it seems like you go to the planning board meetings and try to get things approved, and the only people that show up are the ones that don't want something to happen, in their neighborhood. So that's been a problem, and it's something that, part of the solution is we need people to step up and voice their support for smart projects. Another barrier, high costs, and there's a lot of risk to developers, and for some reason, developers are commonly looked upon as bad people. We're generally not bad people. But we do things generally to make a profit, and I think in this country that's supposed to be okay. When we see an opportunity, we figure out a way to make a project happen, and we need to shift the thinking in general in order to solve this problem. So some barriers at the state level, the permitting process simply takes too long. A solution would be if they could streamline the process. And one of the things that the state of Maine is suffering from, they've got great people that work for them. And I have no issues with the folks we've dealt with, particularly over at the DEP. They're great people, but there's not enough of them. They're not paid enough. And it simply takes too long. And we've literally seen the markets change. As developers, we're trying to figure out what the market wants and trying to provide that to the market. And in the time it takes sometimes to get through permitting, we've seen the wants change. And the state really needs to look at streamlining in some way. There's a huge lack of synergy between the state and local policies. We need to have Augusta really pulling towards, and we do see that that's happening in the legislature right now. There's several bills going through that can help. If they don't get watered down too much, it can help. But Augusta's got to set some policy that flows down to the towns. Right now, there's really not a lot of incentive for towns to step up and try to solve this housing crisis. And I think that one of the things that could certainly help is if the state can incentivize, financially, some of these towns. And we've seen towns around southern Maine that simply do not want to have growth, and they frankly they should be penalized, and towns that will take growth, that have a comp plan in place and will accept it, should be rewarded. We've got barriers, local barriers. We have some experience with the goalpost being moved. Developers need rules that are easily understood and consistent. It's very, very important for us. We're taking a lot of financial risk to move a project forward, and we need consistency. A lot of towns don't have really up-to-date, forward-thinking. We're very blessed in Scarborough to have a zoning ordinance and a comp plan that was put in place that was modern. And modern zoning and comp plans are necessary and should be put in place. Again, if we want to solve this problem. We need to be able to reduce the developer fees if possible. I have no issue with the developers paying their fair share, but the development community shouldn't have to pay for the sins of the past, where towns didn't spend the money, didn't charge developers, didn't charge people coming in, and now all of a sudden all of the fees on the developers, and it can make the project and kill the project. So that really needs to be looked at. And those fees can be offset with public-private partnerships, TIF districts, CEAs, those types of things can certainly help solve that problem. Finally, the NIMBY problem. There's a very disruptive vocal minority out there very commonly when projects come forward. And I've experienced it over the years. We need to get people to come to planning board meetings that are for a project. It seems like the only people that show up are against a project. And I don't have any issue, and never will have an issue with somebody coming forward that has a legitimate problem. They've got a water problem, they've got a traffic problem, those types of things, we can overcome that as a team. We can figure that out. But just flat out, I don't want more housing near me, that's not going to solve the problem. And so we need people to become housing advocates. We don't, as developers, we don't have a lot of support out there, and the truth is, we're rule followers. We look at a piece of land, if it's available, we only buy land that's available. We don't have the powers of eminent domain. We can't just go take a piece. So willing sellers, we look at a piece of land, we get the rule book, we figure out what can be done, we make a decision on, do we really think we can get it done, and we move forward. Unfortunately, we're caught in the crossfire of people that don't want to see things move forward. But these housing needs, there's a lot of support out there for economic development. We need support for housing. We need people to just show up at meetings and be supportive. And fear is, derailing a lot of good projects. I know of one project in Saco in particular recently that was put down by a neighborhood group, and it was just frankly egregious. It was a great project. It met all of the zoning requirements, and it was put down. And it's unfortunate. And I know that developer is really wondering, hey, what am I going to do? I don't know that I'm going to move forward with that anymore. So. And that's a true loss for the state of Maine and for the town. I guess Peter's going to take over from there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
I can catch up here. Lessons learned. Kind of why does all this matter? Many housing types generate net positive revenue for municipalities and towns. Something you may not know, multifamily housing, which Dan was referring to, generates more tax revenue per square foot than commercial development. Think about that. This is the very asset that unlocks some of these housing issues we're here for today. So there's already incentives for towns and municipalities to densify certain areas, certain land, and execute this solution. Smart growth does not burden communities, it strengthens them. Over the same 10-year period, Scarborough increased population by 17%. Get this, school enrollment is flat. Fact. This is from the Scarborough School Board, I believe they call themselves, yeah. So just think about that. One of the slides earlier mentioned about fear, and, you know, certain words and certain hot buttons. Check the facts. You'd be very surprised in some cases. This is a good example. Smart growth can keep increases to a minimum. For example, Scarborough and Westbrook passed along 3.7% and 3.8% respectively tax increases, while other municipalities, neighboring municipalities, were double that. And we could go on and on about this topic, but it does come down to economics, and it comes down to how the economics affect the residents there. That's one piece. Quality of life is the other piece. So you've got to harmonize these things if we're going to get this done. Mainers are retiring faster than people entering the workforce. The future labor shortage has been identified as Maine's #1 threat per the governor's office and the DECD. I believe that to be true. Businesses need staff. We all go out to restaurants and go shopping at retail and various things. We know that our service in the service sector, the quality of service in the service sector is in rough shape. And people cannot afford to live here. We talked about that earlier. Mainers need housing near their employment. Mainers commute the furthest to work than any other state in the US of A. Factoid. Healthy lifestyle, healthy workforce. People are in the car longer each day, taking time away from their families and hobbies. Move to the next slide. Kind of moving forward and wrapping up here. I'm going to get the hook if I don't. Look, the bottom line is Maine can do this. The Downs model is scalable. It can be done anywhere geographically in the state of Maine. This is not rocket science. Well, maybe in some days it is, but it's really, it can be done. We have built the model. We've done all the work associated with it. The Downs, here's something that should rattle everybody in the room and anybody listening. The Downs at full execution will have 2,000 dwelling units, we mentioned it earlier, with 2 million square feet of commercial. Sounds like a lot, right? It's the largest project in Maine, certainly, and arguably, I've been told, northern New England. That solves about 2.5% of the housing needs with this $80,000 need. So the largest project standing before you today solves 2.5% of the issue. That should get people's attention. Why do we think Maine can do this? Maine's been successful in the future. We got through COVID. We've been successful in building industry, in some cases tearing it down, but most cases we're successful. I use the analogy, and I want to share this with you. If you think about alternative energy, say over the last decade, you can't drive anywhere without seeing a solar farm or a windmill and whatever else kind of alternative energy that is important to us. You can go anywhere and see them. My point is, if you want to solve the housing crisis, the model that was built and the constituents that were involved in alternative energy would very well work, would be very effective in a housing crisis. We're saying we have a crisis. Alternative energy is a great way to do it. We have to work together across all sectors. And I'm going to move us right into questions here because we're getting the hook. This is the hook right here. The hook.
Hi, Susan Morris, and I am a recovering real estate developer. My question is, I wondered if you could speak specifically to the speed of construction. We need housing fast, so apart from all the other issues, once it's good to go, and particularly for some of the smaller homes that you have designed and are building, but how can we, time is money, we need housing, but how can we speed up construction? Modular, whatever it may be. Thank you.
Rocky couldn't hear you well, so
Speed of construction.
I'll take a shot at it. Speed of construction. I think, you know, being established and having a labor force that's been used time and time again helps that. Also, though, there's little details about our speed. We have modularized panels done, as an example, versus just stick building from the foundation up. We can stand up basically, I'm a little over my skis, but, an 10,000 square foot building, like a 12-plex apartment building, we can stand that up very quickly with modulation. What do you think, Rocky? We can have one window, weather tight, in what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, weather tight, 2 weeks, and occupiable in 120 days.
Yeah, so about 120 days. So, supply chain efficiencies and labor would be the two key points I'd hit there, and hopefully that helps.
Okay.
Yeah, we just, go ahead. Well, in terms of overall capacity, it's a bit of an unknown. I mean, the reality is we source from a variety of different lumber yards, as an example. But I don't know that supply chain ends with Maine. It might begin. In some cases, it could end in Maine, if you will, but we ask our partners at Hancock Lumber, pick a lumber yard, and we give them dates, and we want them hit. I believe, am I addressing his question?
I think so.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Can the state build? Can it be built in the state? I don't believe on the current infrastructure that number could be. We personally have a capacity of we could probably build 500 a year.
Yeah.
If we're allowed to, but we've got growth caps, so we can't meet those needs. So that's what I was talking about with the towns have got to get on board. If we've been throttled back at the Downs, we would be further along if we could have been. So I think all towns need to look at that. But as far as overall capacity for the state, I'm really not sure, but I would guess that, there's not unless Augusta gets involved and gets some incentives out there, we're not going to be able to meet those types of numbers. The infrastructure's just not there.
Your point's a good one, though, meaning that what is actually achievable in our current supply chain infrastructure? That's really what you're saying. And I think that's a question for our friends up in Augusta. We know what we can do, and we're not sure about across the broader industry. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Paula Mahoney from Words at Work. So it seems to me there's a link between the NIMBY complaints and what you talked about in terms of how Scarborough is benefiting from the TIF district. I've never heard that explained before. How I can't remember but how you shelter things from the state. So Scarborough is paying off that huge facility. Can you talk about that a little more? And why don't we hear that when a developer comes before, say, the city of Portland, where I've seen so many good projects squashed? Thank you.
Well, let's see. When you have remember the town runs with elected officials. So our NIMBY effects, if you will, ebb and flow according to those elected officials. And God bless them, it's a thankless job. They don't get paid anything, and the public lights them up every chance they get, right? So no offense to those folks. But the hard reality of it, when you look at it as a sheer business issue, I think you don't hear about it because they don't want to give credit to the development community that drove it, to be quite candid with you. Because then what happens is the chess game gets won more often by us and less by them. And, you know, I don't mind playing chess. Just going to make sure that things start out equal. So I'm swagging a little, but that's generally correct. Generally correct.
We have time for one more question in the back.
Good question, by the way.
Hello, Kate Rice from Good Shepherd Food Bank. At the moment and upon completion, how many units will be considered affordable or anything besides market rate? Because we all know market rate's pretty expensive these days.
Yeah, I can take that. So, oh, okay. Actually, the zoning that's in place requires 10% of all housing in the project and in the zone to be considered affordable. And that's per state definition as well. And we're actually ahead right now. So we've done larger projects to kind of get ahead of the curve. So I think right now we're about 15 to 16% of the 622 units you saw on the screen earlier is affordable. There's also kind of workforce housing that just happens by the nature of the type of housing that we're developing. So it's not restricted to be affordable, but based on the square footage, the unit design, et cetera, especially a few years ago when interest rates were 3%, not 6.5%, we had anywhere of 40 to 60% of our housing was considered workforce. And that's when we built a lot of it. So if they were condominium, then those condominiums, because they were acquired by those owners, met the workforce definition, and our rental ones did as well. So what's happened is interest rates have really kind of taken a bite out of our ability to perform market rate workforce housing and construction costs. But for a good slug of what you saw in terms of our production over the past 7 or 8 years, a lot of it actually, when it was performed, was also workforce housing. So, and that gets back to tiny homes and apartments, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, other housing types that can be more affordably delivered to meet that price point.
I'm going to close it out. I'm Quincy Hensel. I'm with the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce. And just a huge thanks to Peter, Dan, and Rocky, not just for being here, but for having this vision and the tenacity to bring this vision to where it is today. Can we have another round of applause for the Downs? And if you have not been to the Downs, I highly recommend you check it out. I was there just a few weeks ago to see the housing and the commercial space, and it is incredible. So take a drive through there if you have not. I also want to take a moment just to thank Mary Costigan, who she had mentioned this is her last Eggs and Issues. Mary's been the board chair of the Portland Community Chamber for 2 years, and therefore the host of Eggs and Issues every month. She's been an amazing board member, leader, and in her professional life, she does a ton of municipal work, helping projects not so dissimilar from the Downs actually get across the finish line. So I just want to thank Mary for everything that she's done with the chamber, and just keep up the great work in your professional life at Bernstein Sure, because we need you and we need these projects and we need more housing. So a round of applause for Mary. And that's it. That's a wrap for Eggs and Issues, not just today, but for the season. So have an amazing Maine summer, and we'll see you back here in September.